I don't know how else to say this other than y'all are a tribe. Yeah, nothing says I love you like your people showing up for you. And you've done that tonight for this beautiful family. And so on behalf of the family, thank you. Very obviously, Travis and this family are so well loved, so well surrounded by community. And talking with the family earlier this week in preparation for Travis's service and for tonight, they thought it'd be a good idea to have a little time that we could share some stories. When you live a life as full as Travis did, there are lots of stories to tell. And it's the sharing of those stories, the bringing of those stories together that helps keep Travis alive in memory and in heart. And so we know there are stories out there. And so this is the perfect time to share those. We would invite you, if you have a story you want to share, to come up and to share that with the group. I also invite you to be brief. The family's had a long day today, and it's going to be another long day tomorrow. And so please, we want to hear your stories. And so if you are so inclined, feel free to come up here, or maybe just make a line down here, and we'll kind of circle our way through. But together, let's let this time be a moment when we can celebrate a life well lived.
Hello, my name is, holy cow. Yes, thank you, J.R. Phillips. But some of you may know me as John or Johnny, but to Travis, however, I was known as Astro. The foundation of our friendship began in Little League at Holiday Park when we were teammates on the Astros. For the past nearly 50 years, we referred to one another every single time we saw each other as Astro, a name I will always cherish. Brooke so accurately noted in Travis' obituary, if you were a friend of Travis, you were a friend for life. I had the privilege to be Travis's friend for nearly his entire life. As was also noted in Travis's obituary, Travis led by example and modeled what it means to be patriotic, loyal, have character, and put others first. If all of us could only be so lucky to be known by a few of those attributes, let alone all of them, Travis was one of a kind. I read a quote this week and immediately thought of Travis. It read, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. The last few times I saw Travis was at the hospital and at his home. Travis wasn't talking, but I witnessed him as he looked at Brooke, Carrie, Pam and Josh, his nurse, and myself on many different occasions, and he simply looked at us and he smiled. It was as if he was saying, be strong, be happy, it's going to be okay. He was fighting the fight of his life, and yet he made all of us feel so special and loved. Travis did this his entire life. He always made you feel special. Travis modeled to me how to be the best at everything you do, whether as a husband, a dad, a son, a brother, a pilot, a proud American, a Hawkeye fan, or a friend, to name a few. Travis, Astro, I love you, and I'm forever grateful that you are a part of my life and that of my family. What a gift and blessing. Rest in peace until we meet again in turn 2.
This is going to be a very short brief here. First of all, I can't leave here without thanking everybody. It's been incredible. We feel the support, we feel it, we feel the love. Just a big fat thank you. One story about Travis, you know, the one about how fast will it go? Well, how fast you want to go? At age 13, I think he talked us into getting a moped. Okay, Travis, you're going too fast. Can you just slow down until you get the feel of this thing? So I'm out there one day, he's come down the gravel driveway. I'm going, Travis, you got to slow down a little bit. He goes, I think he hit the front brake. He's plowing gravel for about 10 feet there. He come out with road rash up and down. I say, you got the drift now, Travis? Okay, you got it. Okay, got it.
Travis is so happy and so proud to see y'all here to recognize his beautiful life. Thank you all for being here. It takes a great friend to have friends like this here to support him. And I wanted to make sure that I wrote these down so I didn't screw this up because it's so important that I get it right for Travis. There are a couple things that I think everyone needs to know about Travis, AKA General Chicken Travie. First, he was big fun always. I could go on and on, but it wouldn't be G-rated, or probably even PG-13. So for those of you at Wellman's, if you want to share some of this in private, we'll talk. Suffice it to say that, Travis, you are the funniest person on the planet. A lot of this happened in the Fiji house at the Hawks tailgates with all the Saids, and I do mean all the Saids, who always considered Travis one of their own. Playing monster ball in the valley pool with the wrestlers versus us swimmers. Why they took that trade, I'll never know. We would never meet them on the turf. Ragbri, led by JR and the Valley crew. Grateful Dead shows in Rosenberger's RV. Waveland Golf Course, a real-life Caddyshack orchestrated by the shaman Jeb Barmish. And your and Brooke's wedding, so fun. We're so happy for you. You really married up, Travis, just like Sad, Grant, and me. Second, Travis, you made the most with less. Not more with less, like some people say. He made the most with less. I often thought about how he does this. I think he was a person of action, duty, purpose, and determination. That's how he accomplished what he did. He didn't always love the hand he was dealt. For example, when the military took away his fighter jet squadron, it was not a happy event for him. He didn't complain. They reassigned him to the drone squad, and then he excelled in that assignment. He was driven by his duty, purpose, and determination. He believed in keeping us safe, defending freedom. It mattered, and he excelled and never complained. He never complained about his diagnosis or treatment, and he made the most of his past year. He was present, he was an inspiration, and it made a difference. It mattered. Third, the beautiful women in Travis's life, Izzy, Emma, Gretchen, Brooke. You girls and Brooke were the light of his life. What could drive someone like this? You are simply the answer. You were his most important mission and the most dangerous and challenging. You are what drove him in everything he accomplished. As a parent, what you want to know more than anything is at the end of your time here that you've given your children everything you could to help them succeed in life. You need to know that they'll be okay. And there's no question that Travis and Brooke have succeeded in this way. And your grandparents and family have succeeded in this way as well. Your dad, more than anything, wants you to be okay. He wants you to enjoy everything life will offer you. And your dad will continue to succeed in this way. This is not over. As he was fond of saying, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Heck no. You will find that your dad will be with you all the way. You may find yourself having conversations with your dad. You'll hear him speaking to you as you go forward. There will be times when you know how your dad would advise you or what he might say to you, given situation. He's going to be with you, and he's going to continue to guide you, and he will share the joys, the consolations, advice. You're going to hear his funny cracks, and he's going to be there for you forever. This was his ultimate mission, and he made the most of it as usual. And of course, your wonderful mom and family will be here for you too, and this whole room of people who are here that all love you. And there's And we will do everything we possibly can to help you in any way we can. Please don't ever hesitate to call on us. The best any of us can ever hope for is to make the most of our time here. That was you, Travis. And a testament to you is all of your family and friends here today. God bless you, buddy, and your family. Rest in peace. You deserve it, and we'll love you forever. Thank you.
I was going to need this microphone, but maybe I will. One thing I just want to share with you, I wasn't going to say anything today, but this is something that has stuck with me ever since, for a long, long time, actually. When Travis found out he was going to go to pilot's training, I happened to be instructing at the time, so I feel a little bit proud because I got to experience something with Travis that none of you would have, or did. I flew with him for about the first 15, 18 hours before he went to pilot's training to give him an idea what it was like to fly an airplane. I had chuckled to myself because those of you who have flown when you started flying, you're trying to hold maps on your lap, trying to keep the airplane straight and level. You're dropping stuff on the floor, you're frustrated, you can't do anything. I laughed till I was sick flying with him the first few hours. And every time, one of the final flights, we found out I wanted to solo him, but I never got it done because we flew spread out between my schedule and his. It didn't work that way quite so well. But one of the last times we flew, he was going to go to pilot's training and didn't have much time. He had to get, one of the last times he flew, he kind of caught me off guard. I thought he had things down pretty well. And coming down for the final landing, he caught me off guard and flared a little too high. And the airplane went bam on the runway, hit tail skid. He thought it was kind of funny at the time, but and I didn't. It embarrassed the heck out of me because he caught me with my pants down, no kidding. Anyway, from then on, almost every time he introduced me to somebody, Travis would say, "This is the guy I tried to kill."
My name is Lindy Ill, and we have been privileged to live next door, well, 2 doors down, from the Achesons since day one. And we know Travis from a whole different perspective. And everybody knows that Charlie and I sit on our front porch all the time, have a couple beers during the summer. Travis, I can't count how many times he came over to join us in a beer or two, or at the kitchen table if it was cold out. And so one evening, Charlie and I are sitting on the porch, and Travis came over. It was in the summer, and he came over, and we go, "Hey, you want a beer?" And he said, "No." And he went down and hid underneath the railing of our porch. We go, "What happened?" He said, "I'm hiding from Greta." We go, "What's going on?" Well, he had mowed the grass that day, and there was a nest of baby bunnies right in the front yard. And he ran over the baby bunnies accidentally. And so he scooped them up and put them in the way bottom of the trash can in the garage, and then covered the trash on top so Greta wouldn't know because she knew the bunnies were there. And when she came home, he snuck over to our house, and he literally was down underneath the railing. And he saw her go into the garage. He goes, "Oh no, she's opening the trash. She's looking for the bunnies." And he was terrified. And my husband Charlie said, "Wait a minute, aren't you this great war hero, this brigadier general? You've dropped bombs from your F-16, and you're terrified of your 16-year-old daughter?" So that's Travis. And
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam, and I am proudly Travis's uncle. I knew that we were going to be meeting here today for Travis, and it's kind of a sad event. I get that, but I don't think Travi would want it that way. He's always the guy that's got that encouraging word, but just starting from years ago, I remember when Travi was wrestling for Valley High School, how much fun it was to go to his wrestling tournaments. And then he made state, and we all went down there to state and watched him wrestle state. I think he was an inspiration to his brother, Brady, who also wrestled state. And a great brother to Shani, to Shay, to Brady. A great friend to all of you. Great nephew to me and my brother Kent. And when I was over to Travi's house a couple of weeks ago, Greta was there, and she told me something that I didn't know. I was surprised to hear it, but then again, I was not surprised to hear it. And that was that Travis auditioned for Survivor. Did you know that? And I didn't know that. I'm not surprised to hear it. And Greta said that Travis felt like he was a shoo-in because he was in his flight suit, right, when he applied. And why would they not want a fighter pilot on Survivor? But for some reason, he wasn't chosen. Travi had a unique ability. I remember when he was promoted to squadron commander at the 132nd over here. And about this many people were in the room. And it was a touching event because midway through that process, when Travi was being actually promoted, they stopped the procedure and they asked his dad, Keith, to come up and do the honors for Travi. And it was very touching. It was very touching for us, but it meant a lot to Travis too that the process, the ceremony was stopped so that his dad could come up and personally give Travis that award. And that evening, that afternoon, Travi got to the mic and he made every person in that room feel as though he was talking to them about them. And he mentioned everybody that day. And I was always impressed because while it was about him that day, he made it about everybody else. And, that's just Travis. I wrote some things on my hand here. And the day that I went to see Travis with my brothers, I said to him, I hope that I told you how proud I am of you enough. He was just one of those guys who's, sorry about that, but he's just one of those unique guys who has a magnetic personality, such a sphere of influence as evidenced by this here. But I just was hoping to myself, and I told Travis, my nephew, I hope I told you how proud I am of you enough. So, Travi, you may be gone, but I can promise you, you will never be forgotten, and your legacy will live on forever. So, you'll be missed, and you will be loved, and you will be remembered.
Hi, everyone. I truly was not planning on getting up here today, but my sisters and my mom and I were just talking, and I thought I might expose my dad here a little bit, share a little funny, lighthearted story. When he got sick about a year ago, we were obviously in the hospital, and they were doing a lot of scans on his body, and they did a full body CAT scan, and that is when my father found out that he only had one kidney. And he was in absolute disbelief and said, that's not possible. I flew F-16s for 33 years, and you cannot fly F-16s if you only have one kidney, which is actually like a thing. And he was in absolute disbelief. He literally did not believe the doctors. He told them that they were wrong. And then the neurosurgeon comes in to show him his CAT scan, and he starts going on this rampage. I was an F-16 fighter pilot for 33 years. And the doctor was like, okay, hold on, buddy. And he showed Dad the CAT scan, and my dad was like, that's not true. And the doctor was like, I'm not telling you, I'm showing you. And pointed to the CAT scan and that empty space where his kidney was supposed to be. And the best part of the story is we were all sitting in his, we called it the hotel room instead of the hospital room. We're all sitting in the hotel room, and we're playing hangman on the little whiteboard. And Greta gets up there, and she, stroke of genius, dashes out 2 rows of 6 spaces. And we start going, and then it dawns on, I forget who it dawned on, and she wrote single kidney. And that's it. That's the story, but it's too good not to share.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Guion. We have been friends with the Achesons ever since Taylor, our daughter Taylor, became best friends with Izzy in 2nd grade. And she could not be here today. She lives over in Ireland, and she's so sad she cannot be here. So she sent me a message to share. So I'm going to do my best. She says, I wish so badly I could be here with all of you lovely people to recall such a great man. I wanted to share not just one memory, but the vision I'll hold in my mind forever, and one that shaped my years growing up in West Des Moines. Every time I've entered the Acheson house, hearing Travis call, hey yo, Tay-Tay, or whatever version of my name he decided to call me in that specific day. After being friends with Izzy and the Acheson family for over 16 years, the list of nicknames, he's probably miles long, but I'll always think of him and hear his voice anytime I visit their house. So, thank you.
Just want you to know, we were waiting in that line forever so that I could come hug everyone. This might be a little tough for me to say, so I'm going to keep it light, and I told Keith I might pick on him a little bit. But my name is Tom Schwartzbaugh, and I had the privilege of growing up with Travis. His parents, my parents, his dad, my dad flew together, so by default, I got to hang out with Trav. We would have family get-togethers. We would get thrown in the basement of Keith and Jeannie's house with Brady and Shay, and we would have ping pong matches that would never end, although they would end because the score would always be wrong, and so we would finish it with a wrestle-off, right? Because that's what you do with a ping pong game, is you actually man up and figure out who didn't win by whose shoulders are pinned on the basement floor. Travi, when the girls were little, I would talk to him on occasion. He would tell me that he was outmanned, outnumbered, and there was just not enough testosterone in the house to help him out. So he was hanging on with all he could to make sure that you all were set up the way you are, and it's just so awesome to see. I do have to pick on you a little bit, Mr. Keith, because all of the Herbie-isms that transferred into the Travi-isms are well-earned from Trav, but I will give a little PG story, because this is hanging around the Acheson house. Travis and I were often referred to as scrotums by Mr. Acheson, right? Hey, scrotums, get over here. We need some help. Hey, little, and then Brady and Shay were little scrotums. So everybody was a scrotum. I'm not sure that most of Travis's childhood that he knew what a scrotum was. Because everywhere we would go and he would see little people, he'd say, hey, Tommy, look, there's another little scrotum. Look, there's another little scrotum. Whose little scrotum is that? And of course, people would look and couldn't believe. And that's just to me, that was just Travis. It was outside of him all of the time. He, even towards, this last year, I'd never seen him smile as much. I'd never seen him sad. I've never seen Travis anything but Travis, and I just think that I will regret because I thought I was going to have a lot more time with him. So, bless you all, and just sorry to see you. Sorry to see it. Thank you.
All right. I'm Travis's younger cousin, Sam. My dad was just up a minute ago. Travis has, through my whole life, I mean, there are very few people that I've held on a higher pedestal, higher regard than Travis Acheson. I remember back in the days when I was in elementary school, he's 3 years older than me, right? So he was always cooler. But I remember being able to go down to his house because he had Van Halen records, and I didn't have any Van Halen records, right? So, I mean, I'm going back, but, like 3 years younger, I could tell a dozen stories right now, but I want to get to one point here. I'm going through school. I'm in his wake. He was a stud from day one. Like I said, man, I held him in such high regard. He was a better athlete than I was. He had cooler friends than I did. He was better at school than I was. And but there was one thing that I learned from Travis really, really early on, and that was show up prepared. I remember being in junior high and going to golf tournaments with that guy, and Grandma used to pay for his gas, so he would schlep his younger scrotum cousin along to these golf tournaments. And he was so cool, right? And so, but he showed up prepared. He was ready to play. He was ready for game day, and so I go to college. I'm getting on my own. I'm doing these great things. I'm proud of myself. And Travis's inspiration. I thought of him. If it wasn't daily, it was weekly. He was such a huge influence on me. I get out of college. I get on my career path. I'm doing great things. And here, my cousin, who has one-upped me my entire life, becomes a frickin' F-16 fighter pilot. Like, how do you beat that, right? And but the story that I want to tell, though, and this gets to Travis, and the first two guys that got up and spoke to Travis really spoke to how he touched everybody and made everybody feel proud. I've got a 20-year-old son. His name's Will. And in elementary school, I think it was 5th grade, he came to me and he's like, "Dad, I need to write a paper on who I respect the most on this planet." And I was like, "Well, son, let's sit down. I'll dish out some stuff with you." And he said, "It's Uncle Travis." And and the first thing that was in my head, I remember this to this day, the first thing that was in my head was, "I see it, me too." Right? I didn't admit it to my son. But I want to say, so we live in Colorado. I moved out there 33 years ago, raised a family out in Colorado. He'd met Travis maybe 5 or 6 times, and he called Travis and set up these questions to interview Travis. Travis sat down with him. They were on the phone for probably 2 hours, answered all of his questions, went through all of the stuff with him. Will did his paper. He called Will after that. "How'd it go, buddy? How'd it go?" And that was the man that Travis was. It was the person that I remember. It is the person who, as we go forward and we hold a little bit of everybody who influences us in our life, right? Show up prepared, make everybody feel special, make everybody feel like you're there for them. And man, Travis, I love you. I will never forget you. I will take everything that was great about you and use it to inspire the people in my sphere of influence moving forward. Thank you all for being here. And yeah.
Yeah, what a man. We could share stories all night. I believe that we could. We got one more? Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Todd Glade. I flew F-16s and the Merlin Metroliner and MQ-9 Reaper drones with Travis. One thing I'd like to say is, Brooke, you are the most talented writer that I've ever read. Keep the love going, because yeah, your fun facts just had me on the edge here. So, a couple fun facts. Did you guys know that Travis, when he took over the Adjutant General of Puerto Rico, that he wrote his speech out, and then he translated it and gave that speech, that entire speech, in Spanish, and he does not speak Spanish. So I thought that was incredible. So I crashed his place in Puerto Rico for about 4 days. So, and this is the kind of guy that Travis is, right? So he said, hey, you ought to see this place. They give me these general's quarters, and I got this place like right on the beach, and it's got 2 bedrooms, and you guys should fly down here. And he so much just wanted to share that awesome place with somebody. So I said, hey, how about next week? And he's like, yeah, I'll be working all week. And I go, perfect. So I flew down there, and he worked all day through the week, and then I made him party all night through the week. And so Old Town San Juan, and so we got a lot of time to spend and hang out together and kind of bro down on some of that. Another fun fact that I know, that they know, so Travis Chicken retired before I did out of the military. So like any cheap pilot, right, the last thing I wanted to do was to buy another pair of shoes, because mine were falling apart. And like, these are the fake leather core fram, permanently shiny things that, well, they dry rot after, you're so cheap that they only last for so long, and then they dry rot. Well, mine were dry rotting, and I'm like, well, I'm retiring, and I'll never wear those again, and I'm cheap by definition, because I'm a pilot. So anyway, I borrow Chicken's shoes and wore them through my retirement ceremony. Well, like I said, pilots are cheap. So the next buddy of ours, Liquor, his shoes, kind of same thing. So Liquor borrows Chicken's shoes. So now we're going to keep this thing going. The next one on deck, I think, is Lloyd. True statement. So we don't care what size Lloyd's feet are. I think he's got small feet anyway, so it'll be fine. But at any rate, that's kind of where we're going with that tradition. So at any rate, we did a couple of things here. So this we had a canvas print put together of Travis' Finney flight. This is back in 2013, and so hopefully you're all able to get some pictures of this. But this, to me, out of the many photos that I've ever taken or that I've ever seen of Travis, this one hit me, because I think it perfectly captures, one, his spirit, the fighter jet, and then more importantly, the love of his men, that the love and respect that we had for this man. We've signed it across the top here. Ran out of some time, so if you flew jets in any capacity with Chicken, please make your way, find me. We'll have this out, and then we'll get you to sign that as well. So we'll keep this going here for you, and then so I'll just do this. And then so on behalf of the 124th family, we put together just some gift bags for Brooke and the parents and the folks. Some contains alcohol. Girls, sorry, you're probably not. You maybe anyway. Your mom's got the big bottle of the. But at any rate, there's some mementos in there, including that photo and just some other gifts. So at any rate, beautiful writing. I don't know how you've stayed so strong, because I read those and I melt like an ice cube. So thank you for that. And Travis, thank you for being such a wonderful and awesome friend. I'm going to miss you tremendously, and I look forward to flying with you again soon. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Isabel built up the courage to get up here, so obviously we couldn't let her do that, get that one up on us, so we also had to come up here. Also, I apologize, I'm barefoot. How to take the heels off. You want to go first, or you want me to?
I can go.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Emma. So most of you know my dad came from a family of like fighter pilots, and then he had 3 daughters, and he was like, well, shit, who's gonna, do my legacy? So Isabel, I was more like I got referred to as the little boy of the family sometimes. So, I was kind of his only hope. So my dad drove me out, I don't even know where it was, to have a flying lesson, and he only did it for me. So he was so excited the whole way. He's talking planes to me, and I'm just like, like, okay. And then I do my whole lesson, and I'll make this short. But then after, he's like so excited. He's like, what'd you think? Like, did you get the bug? And I was like, no. And then I could tell he was really disappointed because I was, the last hope to make the legacy go. But yeah, that's my story.
Very good. Okay. I also had a story. We decided to come up here together. My story, I know a lot of people talk about how my dad was a really good friend, and I kind of feel that's a little bit transferable to I saw how he interacted with my friends growing up. So my story's from high school. I apologize, I know we're in a church. It may not be the most PG, but having friends over a lot in high school, my parents were always so gracious to open up their home to my 20-plus friends when I'd allow them to come over. And I know throughout high school, one of my favorite memories of my dad is, when I'd have friends come over, and a lot of times, he'd stand out in the driveway because obviously he wanted to intimidate the boys especially. So, he'd stand out in the driveway and put his tough face on, and the boys would walk in, and I know some of my guy friends are here, so they might remember this, but he'd look at them and be like, what's in your backpack? And give him a little suspicious look, and he'd ask him, he's like, well, you gotta give me one. And I started calling it the beer tax for my house. So as I had guy friends coming over in high school, you had to give my dad a beer in order to be welcomed into the house. And I know throughout, as I kept having people over, my friends would come up to me throughout the night. They're like, where's your dad? Like, we want to go have a beer. So then I'd have to walk my friends upstairs so they could sit and talk to my dad and give him a beer just because they thought he was cool. And I don't know, it's just a really cool story of how he's able to be friends with my friends through the beer tax.
Good job.
Yeah.
I know I'll be too loud, but my name's Dan Bartlett. I was in the unit with these guys that have been speaking the last few minutes, and I first met Trav 1991 when I transferred from the Sioux City unit, and I purposely went down to the flight line to meet some of the guys, and Travis was a weapons loader at that time, and one of the first guys I met. And over the years, I knew what he would do, and I was proud of him when he did do it every single step. But the fun one for me was I went TDY to Puerto Rico with the medical unit, and that place is a mess down there. It wasn't holding the standards that the 132nd or the 185th or the active duty units that these guys have been in. And we helped them as much as we could in our unit, the medical unit. Helped them pass, their inspections, but I don't know how that happened. It's a miracle. And it was standard down there was that way in avionics, and they flew 130s. Everything. They were doing terrible in everything, every inspection. And Travis and I would see each other around town. He called me Thunder. I've got a lot of different nicknames. He called me Thunder. And I'll never forget, he's always happy to see. I knew it wasn't just me. It was just everybody. He's just so happy and just a magnetic, gigantic personality. But when I found out that he'd been offered this job in Puerto Rico, I saw him, I don't know, a retirement or squadron bar or something. And I said, I heard you got the Puerto Rico job there. He goes, yeah. And I said, we got to talk. And so got him on the phone, you know, a day or two later, and I said, Travis, that place is a mess. He goes, I know. He was excited to change it. And so, you know, I've never been married, never had kids, but man, I was proud of him for taking that job, because that place is a mess. And I know he improved it because he'd check in with me and he'd say, you know, yeah, had to fire this guy, had to fire this guy. And he couldn't fire them all because they had kind of an underground mafia deal there within the military. And I was, you know, not necessarily officially worried that he was going to get, you know, taken out or anything. But things needed to change. Things needed to roll, and he needed support of the governor. He needed support of the lieutenant governor. He needed support of all his group commanders, all his everybody. And I didn't know if he was getting it, but I know he improved it. We kept talking. I know he did as best he could, and he left a mark there. But yeah, without never having kids, so I've never been so proud of a guy. He took the tough job, and he did a hell of a job, sir. I think so. And
Brigadier General Mucky, I'm the Deputy Adjutant General here in Iowa, and I want to pile on that. At the time right before Travis showed up, I was the Inspector General team, and I can tell you everything he said is exactly correct, right? Every bit of it. And so we put out, I realized I might be a bit of a connection to you and I both, right? But what his service was to his general officer service and what he did for the Puerto Rico Air National Guard was absolutely unbelievable. So the really fun part, he goes down with the call sign Chicken, and of course they have to convert that to Don Polo, or right. So, but literally, this job went out and nobody wanted to touch it because they just crashed an airplane, they just lost their mission, they'd removed 2 generals. Anytime people are getting fired, it's never a great time to show up. And he dove in head first. He did a phenomenal job. And then hard to read some of the stuff that came out of Puerto Rico, but the Adjutant General, Major General Mendez, the current ATAG, General Pabon, current Wing Commander, Colonel Orengo, previous Wing Commander, Colonel Pete Boone, and the Readiness Center Commander in D.C., Major General McDonald. The list keeps going, right? They just poured comments to me to make sure that if I have an opportunity to pass along, but one here from the Puerto Rico Air National Guard leadership. It's with profound sadness that we extend our deepest condolences on the passing of Brigadier General retired Travis Acheson, Don Polo. His leadership, dedication, commitment to service have left an indelible mark on all that had the honor of working with him. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, friends, and the entire Puerto Rico Air National Guard with him during this difficult time. Brigadier General Acheson's legacy will continue to inspire us all. He did, he really did pour his heart and soul into that place, and it is very different now for his effort, so thank you.
Good evening. I know a few of you, but most of you I don't. My name is Chris McGowan, and I went to flight school, and I went to Fish Pot, and I went to Officer Candidate School with Travis. And I will tell you, I don't know how many others got nicknames from Travis, but he's responsible for 2 of mine. The first one, and I bet there's a whole bunch of others out here, how many of you are King Coach Daddy? That was Travis. Everybody was King Coach Daddy. But when I showed up at flight school, a month or 2 behind him, he had already set the table for me. And he set the table by telling his instructor pilot, who would become my instructor pilot, that when McGowan shows up, you need to know he is wrapped as tight as a 2-bit banjo, and you need to give him a nickname for it. I didn't know this. I walked into the flight squadron, and after a briefing, Captain Mahaley from the Air Force Academy said, "Are there any questions?" And there were a couple of questions, and I was not prior service. I walked in off the street. Travis had enlisted, and I said, "Yes, sir. How concerned are you guys about us polishing our boots? You know, there's a lot of studying and a lot of time and a lot of stress." And he looked at me and he said, "I heard about you. Travis told me that you ping like a well-hit 3 would in a bathtub." And so the question immediately became, would my nickname be Ping or Ricochet? And for all the aviators here, you know how cool it would be to have a nickname like Ricochet. So, of course, I was Ping. And I kept that name forever. That said, Travis and I have a friendship that goes back 3 decades. Every time I came to Des Moines, he was so proud. Proud of Des Moines, proud of Iowa. I don't know how many of you got the corn-fed T-shirts when they were popular, but he made sure I had one. He talked about his father, he talked about his wife, and he talked about his 3 daughters and how proud he was of all of you. So I'll simply say this. I can't believe that all these aviators come up here and none of them talk about high flight. But I will. And I'll just read from the poem that we all got when we soloed the T-38 for the first time. And for those of you who do not know or do not have familiarity with that poem, it closes like this. "I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God."
My name is Eric Hansen. I'm a reporter at KCCI here in Des Moines, and I've been working as a reporter and anchor here in town for 24 years telling stories. And 15 years ago this spring, I got the coolest assignment in the world. My assignment was to take Central Iowans to a place they have never been. And my request was to go in an F-16 fighter jet. Now, it was a long shot, I know that. So I asked the Air National Guard, and after a couple of months with Pentagon approval, they gave me the okay. So I showed up 15 years ago this spring at the airport, not knowing who I was going to meet. I met Chicken, and I spent the day taking people to a place that we as Central Iowans saw those jets fly over Central Iowa all the time, but we didn't get the chance to be on board. And to spend the day with Chicken that day was just a blessing. And as a result, my story was supposed to be on the jet. He made the story so much better because Chicken was Chicken. The story has had a huge impact on so many people, especially me. I've got a chance to go to other continents and to other places, but to be with Chicken in the back seat of an F-16 fighter jet and let him say, okay, you can go ahead and take the stick. I mean, come on. It does not get better than that, but it was so cool because he was the representative of our state, of the National Guard, of our people, and of the military. He couldn't have been a better character in the story to share the story of the Guard, to share the story of our state, and to share what happens out at the airport. Just about 2 years ago, when Top Gun Maverick came out, I shared the story again on my Facebook page. I think that has probably 3 million views around the world, watching him show his love of what his passion was about talking about being the cat's meow and being, how fast do you want it to go? That's how fast we go. He was a great character, a great Iowan, and I was just honored to spend the time and let him be the driver of that story that just has impacted so many people around the world and will continue to see the spirit that Chicken led for the National Guard and for Iowa and be a great representative of us all. Thank you.
Brian Honnold. I've known the Acheson family since I was 7, okay? Mom, you make the best sloppy joes ever, okay? I've known Travis, we were Sharks, and JR, BJ Plummer. There was a lot of guys on that Astro team. And Travis, you're 10, 11, and 12. And the best thing, was going out to the place on Army Post Road and going down in the creek, doing a lot of hunting for Indian heads or whatever it might be. But my dad would not appreciate it if I didn't come up here and just say that Travis was a remarkable person. But it's hard for me to say because I've known him for a long time. Travis and I, we were neighbors. Brooke, we were neighbors on 32nd Street in West Des Moines. And Travis was flying, the F-16s, and he says, "Hey, maybe sometime you need why don't you come out, check it out, And I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Well, where should I go?" And they would have the runway was out there, and he's like, "You line up by the fence, and I'm standing, I figure out where I go. It's by the airport, and I'm out there, and all the jets, these F-16 fighter pilots, they are like the coolest men around, and every one of them did something different when they took off, and I'm sitting out there on my car." And this one guy, he goes and he rocks the plane back and forth and then takes off. And all of a sudden, there's a group of women over here on the other side, and they're like going, "Yeah, he did that for me," And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a groupie." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." It was either I was a groupie or I had a man crush on Travis, and I think there's 100 guys in here that might have had a man crush on Travis. I don't know, but the way we talk about it, it's obvious that Travis was the friend that everybody wanted to be friends with. So, thanks.
It's clear that Travis's influence spans the globe. It's clear that Travis's influence spans generations. And so I just encourage you to continue to carry those stories. I know there will be opportunities to share them, even around our own circles, and not only in the coming weeks and months, but for the rest of our lives. And so keep those stories alive in the ways that you hold them and the ways that you share them. I will remind you that the funeral is tomorrow in this room at 10 a.m. Brooke and Izzy and Emma and Greta, we love you. They're going to stick around for just a little while here afterwards as we're leaving, and if anyone wants to kind of greet them one-on-one, they'll stick around for just a little while. Go in peace.